Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see this time we are going to check something new from Miniart. It is molded in 1/35 scale and copies M3 So first release is a early production version, but there will be some other types as well. As far as I know, Grand MK1 goes out at the same time with this kit, so we will check it a bit later. And this is a completely new plastic, it's interior kit, so that's why it should be interesting for those who would like to copy not only external detailing but also show some of the interior parts on this tank. This kit should be already available for purchase in any good model shop. I think ModeliMax have them for sure, so you can order it directly there. And we have a commercial sample, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you will see in this video review. So first of all, box art is a quite nice picture. As you can see here, we have the small stamp that it was created by Booth 2017. Here you can see comparison with my hand. It's not big box, but still there are, I would say, some things which will surprise you. First of all, it's the weight, because there is a huge amount of parts. And here you can see some information about this kit. So it's written in 3 languages, Ukrainian, Russian and English. Those are safety advices. We also have the address of the manufacturer, QR code and the barcode. And then on the other side we have how many 8 marking options which are included into this kit. As you can see, there is nothing special. I would say it's straight, but still, I mean, M3 was green and the main difference was on the symbols, which will be replicated with decals, or you can replicate them with paint, but we will talk about this later. First of all, let's open this box and take a look inside in order to see what is actually included into this kit. So let's open it. It's a top-loaded box, so we have to remove this tight lid here. Okay. And as you can see, the cover is quite thin, so be sure to check the parts before the purchase. And here we have all plastic sprues packed into the same plastic bag. That's a, let's say, traditional feature for Miniart. On the bottom we have the assembly manual, which is quite thick, I would say, so it would be interesting to see what is there, but we are going to start with plastic parts first, and then we will move to assembly manual. So as I said before, this is a sealed plastic bag, so I would need the scissors in order to open it. Just give me a second to cut it through. In the meantime, let me remind you that you can support us financially by pressing the donate button on our website. It is quite easy to do, and you will decide how much we will get. It is done via PayPal, so it should be safe as well, and you shouldn't be worried about any possible problems with sending this money. So here we have a whole bunch of these plastic sprues, and we are going to start with this one. As usual for Miniart, we get all these strange shapes of the frames. So here you can see quite wide plastic sprue, and it is full of internal parts together with external elements, and overall molding quality looks really good. It's worth zooming in even closer so that you can see these parts in detail. As usual, attachment points are quite thin, so I don't think you'll have any possible issues while cutting off these parts. And here from another side you can see that there is also detailing on this element. I think it should be placed like this. We will see in assembly manual. Nevertheless, next we have a small plastic bag with decal sheet and also with clear parts. So just give me a second to cut through this plastic bag and we'll take a closer look. Okay. So first of all, clear sprue. As you can see, it is only one here, and Miniart placed all periscopes, lenses and some other clear or transparent elements here. Molding quality looks fine, but of course you will need masks for this, because masks are not included as usual for Miniart kit. Here we have decal sheet, so this one is full of various symbols. As you remember, there are 8 marking options in this kit, and some of the symbols can be replicated freehand with white paint and brush, obviously, so it will be up to you how you would like to copy them on your model. As you can see, printing quality looks fine, so there is nothing difficult to apply these symbols and have the paint finish or marking option straight away. Next we have small envelope with P thread. So just give me a second to open it. Okay, here it is. So as usual, this is unpainted P thread. As you can see, we have here various parts for external and internal detailing. It's surprisingly small, I would say, for such kit, but well, I guess that's all this kit needs, and there is no need to have more. Then we have separate plastic bag with tracks parts. Again, it's a sealed plastic bag, so just give me a second to cut through it. And that's really cool that we don't have vinyl parts, obviously, but this stuff will take some time to assemble, and you should be ready for this because, I mean, we all know how separate track links are built, and that's why you have to be ready for this stuff to do. It might be a tedious procedure, but final result will be worth it. So here we have not the tracks, but we have the teeth for the tracks. As you can see, they're molded separately, and molding quality seems to be fine. And I can guess those teeth will have to be glued individually for every track, so it will add some fun to the procedure. Well, fun. Okay, next we have small plastic sprue with turret part. As you can see, top section is molded as one piece part, so it means we get the right shape out of the box. And note this nice custom texture on the turret. Let me focus the camera so that you can see it. We even have the custom marks on the turret, which is really nice touch, I would say. Here you can see it. Of course, all hatches are molded separately, so no worries, you can open them on your tank. And here we have the internal detailing as well, because that's interior kit, so that's why we get some of the internals detailed out of the box. Next we have first big plastic sprue. So just give me a second to separate it from other bunch. And here it is. So here Miniart placed mix of various parts because we can see both internals and external elements. So here, for example, you can see the front armor. Here we have the side armor, and also here we have some internal elements. Molding quality is really great. We can zoom in so that we can see all those parts closer. And again, note the custom texture on this section. It looks really good. Here we can see other parts from the set. It's funny that Miniart stopped to print the parts count on its kits. As you remember before, on the assembly manual there was a small features list with a parts count. Now there is no parts count at all because numbers are getting bigger and bigger, and some modders were really afraid of those numbers. That's why it was decided to hide the parts count and display just the main features like openable hatches or something like this. Here we have another superstructure because M3 was quite rich with superstructures. You can also see here various hatches and machine gun, by the way, here. And from another side we have detailing as well, for the hatches at least, because you can open hatches, and that's why it is really necessary to have some detailing inside as well. Next we have one more plastic frame. This one is fully dedicated to internal elements. So here you can see them in their full beauty. And again, molding quality seems to be fine. A lot of small parts, for example here. So be ready for this. And also some thin parts because it's an interior kit. So that's why we have all the wires copied in plastic. And you will have to deal with it. So do not hurry with thin parts because it might be easy to break them. Miniart traditionally place some of the attachment points in the middle of those thin parts, so you have to deal with it. For example, here or here. And if you break those parts, it will be even more tricky to fix them because they're really small, and you have to get the right alignment, which was molded out of the box. Next we have quite interesting frame. Why? Because M3 had quite unusual engine, as you remember. It had the star engine. Here you can see all the parts which will be used for this engine, and it should be quite detailed out of the box. I'm not sure if there is anything to add to this engine power plant, I would say, but we will see in assembly manual. Maybe there is a wiring to add or something else, but these are all minor upgrades which will be barely visible in the engine compartment. Here you can see some wiring which is also quite nice looking molding quality here. And here, by the way, we can take a closer look at the engine parts. Let's flip them over. Here you can see them from the other side. I can guess that maybe this engine will be used somewhere else, because as you remember, this is an aircraft engine, so that's why it would be shame not to use it in some aircraft kit. But we would see, I mean, it's just a guess, a random thought. Here we have pair of identical sprues, so we are going to check only one because they carry the same set of parts. As you can see, mainly these are various Pioneer tools and some suspension parts. And again, molding quality is quite clean. Some parts are really tiny. Here you can see comparison with my hand. So be ready for this as well. I'm saying it once again and again and again because this kit is full of really tiny parts. Here we have road wheels, 1, 2, 3, and 4 plastic frames, which are absolutely identical once again. They carry the same set of parts. As you can see, road wheels are molded as one-piece parts. And it should be relatively easy to install them, but you have to paint these rubber sections with brush because these are not separate, so you have to be careful while painting them. Okay, just give me a second to place this aside. And next we have 2 plastic frames with drive sprocket parts. So here you can see that they should be glued out of 2 parts, and place these attachment points are placed right on the teeth. It is really good because you won't have to cut between teeth as on some other kits, and it should speed up the assembly process. Okay. Next we have this plastic sprue with various internal equipment. Note that these parts are molded as a large one-piece elements, so you won't have to deal with separate Armour discs. You just have them inserted straight away out of the box. Next we have rear armor panel. Here it is. Again, we have separate hatches, and that might be used in order to expose the engine in the rear compartment. It will be up to you how you use this feature, but it is there so that you know. Okay, next we have 2 identical plastic frames with various armament. So you can notice there the Tommy gun here and also machine gun here. I guess they will be placed both inside and outside. And here you can see them from the other side. Okay, next we have 1, 2, and I guess that's all. So 2 identical frames with various ammo equipment. Again, note that they're molded in stacks, so you won't have to deal with separate parts. That's really cool because, as you remember, in previous Miniart interior kit, we had to deal with separate ammo bits, and it might be a bit tedious, we can say it straight. Here you can see again 2 identical frames. I will show you only one because there is no point to check them one by one. And that's what I was talking about. So as you can see here, we have really thin part with attachment points in the middle. So do not use plastic cutters with this because you just cut off the part as well. It's really tender plastic. So I would rather use the plastic saw, saw it off, sand it a bit, and install it into the place. It should preserve the part intact, and it will save you some time from repairing these parts while cutting them off accidentally with a plastic cutter. Next we have here the sprue with Pioneer tools. So as you can see, we have here the shovel, we have the axe, and some other parts. Again, really thin parts. Here you can see comparison with my fingertip, and it should add some fun into the assembly process, if you know what I mean. Next we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have 5, 6 sprues of the same type. We are going to check only one, because as you can guess, those will be used for the suspension bogies. And this tank is actually basically more or less the same suspension, I would say, design as on the Sherman. So we all know it was employing the bogies, the several ones, 3 on each side. So that's why those will have to be glued out of separate parts. And as you can see, it should be more or less simple. We have guiding elements inside, so I guess you won't have any issues with alignment. Okay. Next we have hull parts. Here you can see the side panels with separate doors. This look quite good, and of course you should be able to open these doors on your vehicle, and I would recommend to do so in order to expose what is hidden inside, because otherwise it will be just closed in the tank and it won't be visible to the visitors, or let's say those who will be seeing your model. Here we have another set of panels for the main hull, and here you can see them from the other side. We have even some wires pre-molded, so it's worth painting them in order to get even more convincing finish. Next we have full set of plastic tracks. So we have 1, 2, 3. Again 1, 2, 3. And another set 1, 2, 3. And one more 1, 2, 3. So in total there are 12 sprues of this type. As you can see, we have here these pads for the tracks. Those should be glued together because, as you can see, they are separated, and don't forget about the separate teeth which should be inserted from the sides. But again, molding quality seems to be fine. I guess it might be a bit tedious process, but those will be completely separate track links, fully made out of plastic, so they should be easier to paint and weather, and obviously they're better than typical vinyl offerings from some other manufacturers. Here we have the hull parts. So as you can see, all those panels will have to be joined somehow. Be ready for this. Be careful with alignment, because even though we have some special tabs which will help you with alignment, still it will be a bit tricky. And here you can see some fine detailing on those parts, so let's zoom in. For example, here we have the turret teeth, then we have internal detailing pre-molded. Rivets are the must on this tank, so as you can see, they're pre-molded, wiring here. And let's flip it over because it's interior kit, so these parts will be detailed from both sides. Here you can see them from another side, from the opposite. Okay, so that was the last gray plastic sprue, but that's not all, because we have to check the assembly manual. And as you remember in the beginning, I said that assembly manual is quite thick, so here it is. It is printed in form of typical Miniart brochure. It is printed in color, obviously. Here we have some information about the kit. So workable tracks included, engine included, fully detailed fighting compartment interior, driver compartment interior, all hatches can be open or closed, P, clear parts, and 8 marking options inside. Here we have straight away the marking guide. So as you can see, the manufacturer placed here 5 marking options, or 1, 2, 3, so I guess 3 marking options or 4 marking options. It's a bit confusing in my opinion. 1, 2, 3, 4 marking options. So this one comes from 1st Armored Division US Army, November 1941. This one is from 2nd Armored Division US Army, early 1942. This one is Canadian Army, Great Britain 1942. And this one is from Red Army, 61st Army, July 1942. This one might be interesting. As you can see, it's written Soviet heroes on the nose of this tank. Next we have parts map, and quite impressive when you see all those parts laid out on the several pages. Assembly process starts with floor, obviously. We assemble the gearbox. Then we continue with driver compartment. We install the ammo bay. Then we continue with various let's say walls which are separating the engine compartment from the driver's compartment. As you can see, it will be quite an interesting sub-assembly. Then you join side walls for the lower hull section. You continue with engine assembly, and note that how many steps are dedicated only to the engine assembly. It should be quite an interesting process, and I would think about exposing this section of the vehicle on the finished model, because I mean it would be a shame to hide it inside the model, especially if you get such detailed engine out of the box. Next we install engine into the engine compartment, and note that engine compartment will be separate, and then you have to glue various walls, doors, filters, etc, etc, and only then you join it together with the main fighting compartment. Here you assemble the main gun, and note that main gun has the one piece barrel, so we won't have to deal with separate halves. It's not a metal part, obviously, but still it's better than having two plastic halves which should be glued together. Here we continue working on the main gun. Then we join sidewalls. As you can see here, we install the main turret into the place. Then we assemble the sidewalls, and here you have assembly options for the open or closed position of the hatch. Next, we continue with installation of those machine guns into the special slots because they were inside the vehicle, obviously. Here we close the engine compartment with these separate walls. Next, we continue with, let's say, the second floor of this vehicle. Here we install some Pioneer tools, towing cable, and note that for cable you'll need a metal wire because it's not included here, so be ready to source some convincing metal wire which will replicate the towing cable. Here we install various braces for the frontal section. Also we install the top panel which will cover the whole fighting compartment. So as you can see here, we have fully enclosed vehicle. Then we have several options for the doors. You can place them in open or closed position. Here we continue with the headlamp guards. Again, several positions for the hatches and doors. Here we install the suspension bogies. So only from this moment, it's step 85, we start working on the suspension. That's quite funny. Here you can see the assembly of the tracks. Just to remind you, there is no assembly jig, so you have to do it with your own hands. Maybe do some really simple stand which will help you to align those parts together. So you have to combine two parts together and then join those teeth from both sides. Next we continue with machine gun. Here we assemble another turret for this tank. As you can see, I was right that this part should be placed like this. Here we install all the ammo inside, then we close it. We continue with the seat for the gunner. Here we have two options for the open or closed position of the hatch on this turret. And then on 111th step, we finish with installation of this turret into the place. It will be quite a funny process, I think, to assemble this whole vehicle. Next, we have more marking options. So this one comes from Red Army, July 1942. And next we have German Army, Wehrmacht, February 1943. Next, another German Army, Eastern Front, 1943. And this one comes from Red Army, July 1943. Here we have some related items, so you can buy figurines of the Soviet tank crew, US tank crew, and also German tank crew. We have reviews of those on our YouTube channel, so I would recommend to check it. These are really nice kits. Here we also have the colors chart, which is given in several manufacturer designations, and again some related items which might be useful with this tank kit. Overall, this is a really detailed interior kit, as it's written here. There are no market alternatives at the moment, in my opinion. And I think if you want to get a really nice tank copy of the M3 in 1/35 scale, this should be the main choice for you. Even though some Chinese brands released their own visions of the M3, I think this one should be a definitive look at the subject in 1/35 scale. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about this kit. Write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because it will help us greatly, and you will also get notifications about all fresh video reviews. And I will see you in the next video review as usual. Bye.